Hey guys, we're live. Jeff Shoemaker with Remax Agility. We're actually here today with another one of my favorite agents in the brokerage, Cindy Nichols. We're coming up on 3 years, so we've known Cindy for a while. We actually knew Cindy a little bit before she joined us. She's actually one of my neighbors, lives in the same neighborhood with her family. Um, to kind of go over a couple things about her before we get started, because I think everybody brings to the table their own attributes and their level of experience in life that helps them kind of navigate business and helping clients. So with Cindy, of course, you're in the process now of getting your brokerage license, which is a higher level of education for real estate agent. So, which is awesome because we'll have someone else here I can ask questions to instead of just me depending upon myself. Um, you have quite a bit of designations that kind of give you specific training to help people, which is really cool. One of them is ASP, which is accredited staging professional. And of course, in today's market, most houses are, if they're not staged and they're not presented in a certain way, it can really affect how many people want to see it. And so having that ability to kind of walk into a place and kind of figure out what needs to happen will really help prepping that house. And I think also prepping your sellers as well.
Mhm.
Um, and then in addition to that, you're an SRES designatee, so you're a senior real estate specialist. So people that are older than 55 that have certain life needs or situations in life, or either downsizing or moving to 55 plus communities, you have a lot of experience with that, which is great. You also have a lot of experience in new construction, not just the designation, but you've also uh, built two homes, right?
Just
Had
one.
two,
Oh,
two,
well, yeah,
two homes.
actually two, yes.
Yeah, two. So just
Townhouse
had
and
your,
a single family.
yep. So you lived through both of those. So that's a lot of great experience with that. And we'll have a question about that specifically in a few minutes. Um, and so, yeah, so you have a lot of different experience as far as designations, but one of the things that I think you have that's really important, that I mean, sometimes you may even forget to tell people is that you used to be a school teacher,
Yes.
um, and not just for a little bit, for a while. And
10
so,
years.
yeah, I mean, that's, you know, if you can teach children and have patience, then God, that's really invaluable when you're working with adults. Um, because, one of the hard things that we do in the business, it's not just like knowing, X, Y, Z and steps 1 through 10, but like working with people and being able to not just help them, but to teach them so that they can kind of not just make decisions, but then know why they made a decision. And that's like a really big, important thing. I think that in the end, it makes people way happier. Because if they don't know why we did something and they may have done it and it worked or didn't work, but later they may second guess it. But if they really learn why they did it, it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so knowing all that about you, um, first question, why did you take the leap into real estate with, after being a teacher and everything you've done, why the industry?
I actually have a lot of family members involved in real estate, so I knew what I was getting into. My family has owned investment properties forever. So I grew up going to open houses and going to model homes, talking about how much is the neighbor going to sell their house for. So after teaching, it seemed like a really good step into real estate for me, something I knew about the business already. I have three children and a husband. So I feel like I can make my own schedule. I really like that about real estate. I'm my own boss. I have my own company. I do what I need to do to make it happen. I'm also very close to my parents who live nearby. And I think real estate has helped me achieve a lot of goals I had.
Yeah, it seems like, most people I know that are in the business, I think for a lot of us, the reason that we really got into it is kind of very much in line with what you're saying is that, the ability to kind of have your own schedule and be your own boss is, it's awesome and terrifying at the same time.
Yes.
Um, but it really helps you, like if you're focusing on clients because that's your career and that's your one job that, you can kind of be there when they need you.
Hmm.
Because, if you were more part-time or, wasn't completely focused, it could be difficult because, not everyone wants to see houses 9 to 5. It's
Right.
evenings and weekends and families have to be understanding because sometimes, mommy or daddy have to be away to show houses and write contracts.
I
Um,
always have a babysitter. I have a village that really supports me, and that allows me to literally, oh, you want to see a house in 10 minutes? Okay, I'm out.
having a support system is to be a successful agent is really important.
Yeah.
having both, bought and purchased homes, built homes, um, knowing that our market is what it is and it's very competitive and things kind of move, in some pockets they move slow, and in the others just across the street they move at kind of hyper speed. What
Yes.
would be your advice that you would give buyers and sellers who are trying to navigate this market right now, that are trying to buy or sell a house, and how to deal with the market?
I have to say, trusting your real estate agent is really important. When I bought a house in 2004, I lost out on two homes I wanted. There were multiple offers, and they picked a different buyer. So I have lived through that before. I know how it feels. I have built new construction homes, as you mentioned. So I know that that process can be long and difficult. But when you have an agent you can trust who's willing to juggle everything for you, it makes the process so much smoother.
Yeah, it's very interesting that when we get into to this market, the weather and the industry are very similar in that, if you don't like what it is now, if you wait 20 minutes, it'll change. And
Yes.
and some of those changes don't happen as planned, and so you have to be able to kind of move quickly and pivot and change paths with your people to make sure that they don't just want what they get, but in the end they got what they wanted,
Yes.
and that's important. Um, for you being in the business now for 3 years, I mean, what is it for you is the most rewarding about being in the business?
I have to say, seeing the clients' faces when we finally win that contract over other multiple offers, we close on that dream home. I have helped several families really changing their life. I helped a family move so that their commute was an hour and a half shorter. And I got a thank you note a year later saying, you changed our lives for the better by helping us buy this home. I had a single man with a special needs daughter. He needed to sell his house, downsized. He had liens. We had some difficulty. Closing was delayed, but we got through it. We were strong and we closed in his house. And he was so relieved that he did not own that home anymore. I also helped a family who wanted a larger home so their parents could move in with them. So we have three generations living together now, and they're happy as can be. They have the comfortable home they want. Parents don't have to climb any stairs. So I really feel every deal has been so rewarding that I'm helping families achieve what they wanted.
It's funny, and you think about it and you bring up a good point. It's like, it's not just, purchasing something and being really excited and finally getting keys, but it's also like getting rid of a home that like you really needed to sell it.
Yes,
And the relief of that burden because now you don't have that property anymore.
right.
And so a lot of people, even though they have these great big emotional attachments to certain things, a lot of houses, the emotional attachment fades over time. And if they're in a difficult situation, it's better to have them be able to sell it and move on and then remember it in a positive way,
Mhm.
versus have to hang in there and be trapped in it and have kind of a negative feeling about it. So
Right.
it's interesting. I always wonder like who's the happiest, the buyer or the seller.
Yeah.
Because especially when I see if you're consulting and advising people, and if they go a little bit too big on the house or too big on budget, it's kind of like buying a boat, right? It's kind of
Mhm.
like, the happiest days are the 2 days of boat ownership, which is the day you buy it and the day you sell it.
Yes.
They're both equally exciting. And it's very interesting, and it's dealing with all these complex things that we deal with in the business and the different parts of the business, whether it be lending or title or
Right.
finding homes or home inspections. For you, what do you find like the most difficult about the job?
I would have to say it is a juggling act. You have to deal with a lot of people, a lot of different personalities. As you mentioned, the lender, the title company, the other side of the transaction, the agent, the people that agent are representing. And you have to have a lot of balls in the air and be on top of it, be ready to tackle any unforeseen challenge that comes up. But I have to say, I taught 36th graders in one classroom and I can handle a lot of things being thrown at me at the same time. So even though it is juggling in the middle of the transaction, it always ends happy ending.
Yeah, it's interesting. As you get through your career and you work with people, all of the things you've done in life kind of parallels what you do in the business. And I've kind of found that most really good, successful agents who really love the business have done a lot of different things in life.
Hmm.
And, you never know, like, your garbage disposal at home, dying on you and the process of replacing it and finding a plumber. Living through that as an owner and writing the check and scheduling a repair and understanding timelines, when you're helping a buyer or a seller deal with something similar, then there's all these different things you have from a vantage point that if you hadn't have gone through that, you may not really fully understand what they're going through. And the difficulty of the business of really managing people, managing processes, and sometimes not everyone gets along all the time,
That's true.
which also can be fun. Yeah, everyone has different opinions, but at the end, we have to kind of be inclusive and collaborative and get people to work together. Because in the end, if everybody's happy
Yes.
during the process, they're usually going to be happy at the end of the process. And having that in mind, um, I'm going to add a kind of a curveball question. Um, with your experience so far, what's been the most unexpected things about working transactions that, before you were an agent, you never really thought about having to deal with?
I think every transaction is different. You think that you're going to follow the plan, do what you're told, what you were taught in your licensing class, but every single transaction is different. I always learn something, and you always have to tackle this and approach it, and know when to ask for help when you need it too.
Yeah, for me, it's like it's there's so many different people. Like say in our brokerage, we have a number of people, and everybody has a different set of skills and experience. And as a broker, you try to know as much as you can, and as an agent, you do the same. But it's interesting. Sometimes your answers to your questions come from some of the most unexpected sources.
Yes.
And I think that's been the thing for me personally that's been the most unexpected is that sometimes my answer comes from someone I would never think would know the answer to it, and they happen to have kind of lived through it.
You know,
Um,
at Remax Agility, we really work together as agents. And I miss our Friday get togethers that we had where we would discuss market trends, bounce ideas off each other, ask each other, what are you working on now? What's going on? And that has really helped me to have that support.
yeah, having kind of a collaborative team environment. Even something as simple as because we can't be everywhere all the time, and if you're picking your kid up from school or you have an event you have to go to or anything, and you need help, someone needs to go open a door or let an appraiser in or go show a client a house. It's awesome to have an office where you can kind of like have a support system to lean on because you got to be licensed to be able to open up boxes and show houses, and so it can't be your family that does it, so it has to be your work family, um,
Yes.
which is great because then you can call on that and say, hey, I need help. um, and the good thing here is that, we always have that help, and usually I'd say most days we'll find someone or someone will raise their hand and volunteer because they know at some point they'll have to have they'll need similar help.
Yeah.
um, Based on what you've seen so far in your career, we're now 3 years in. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I actually do see myself managing a brokerage, teaching pre-licensing classes, and mentoring and coaching. I think my teaching skills are still inside me, and I love learning the business and doing these real estate transactions and plan to do that forever. But I would also like to kind of move into the teaching role also. But
You know,
that's
it's,
far
inter-
ahead.
it's really interesting that like, most people I think that, and I think I touched on this in Alicia's video is that I think most people, when you get your real estate license and you go through the process of, classes, exams, and then getting state and federal or state and national licensing, joining associations, taking your initial ethics classes, then going through post-licensing education, which is, it's extensive. It's 30 hours. It's half of what your original classes were to get a license. And then every 2 years, you're doing 16 hours based on if you're a broker or an agent. And
Right.
it was really interesting is I think most people you go through that process and it's either um, really rewarding and you kind of enjoy the learning aspect of it and you want to know more and you just don't want to know what you're supposed to know. You want to know what everyone else is supposed to know too. And I
I'm
think,
very curious.
well, I think those people are destined to be a broker
Mhm.
And, I know that when I got my license, I knew the day I got licensed that I'm going to get a broker's license,
Yes.
because there's so much more I wanted to know. And it seems like, you're probably that way too. Um, and those are great agents to work with because they don't have to go back as much to get answers to questions, and they have typically more experience. They've typically are more knowledgeable because they've done more reading. In our business, it's really this it's a constant learning game, because everything changes all the time,
Yep.
whether it be laws or regulations or a code of ethics or
The
uh, you
market.
know, everything. I mean, or even what colors are popular. I mean,
Yes.
it's really something as simple as what color your kitchen cabinets are can make a pretty big difference in what something will sell for or how much it'll sell for. And, with all those things running around in your head, having a clear cut plan of knowing that, well, I know I want to get to kind of the highest I can get. And I want to help others and bring them along with me and make them better and make me better at the same time. And
Right.
so I think those attributes kind of go really well with helping buyers and sellers, because if you really want for them what's best for them, most of the time, what's best for them is to know what's going on, to want to learn with you and work with you. So those are things that are really great. I think you'll be really successful at it, and
Thank you.
you'll be in for a long time. And I'm a long hauler, and it's and one thing I think most people, and I'll kind of end the video with this, is that national statistics as far as how long agents are in the business is roughly about 3 to 3.5 years is what the average agent is in the business. Now, the reason why is that, a large number of people don't stay in the business because it's a complex, difficult job. It's a profession.
Mhm.
And there's a lot to kind of do and know. And the ones who kind of make it past that 2 and 3 years, they're normally in forever. If you can get past those 3 or 4 years, it's kind of like, people who get married, the honeymoon period's the first year or 2 years. But, once you've been married, 7, 8, 10 years, typically you kind of know where you're at, you know what it is and what you do to keep the other people happy and what make yourself happy. And I think that in the business, having people that are in the business for longer than 3 or 4 years, typically you see a lot more stable service from those agents, because I think that they've done transactions and they've seen market change, because market changes so quickly. They've seen
Yes.
styles change and people's popular choices change. And so,
Mhm.
it's great to have people that are in the business long term. So if you're out looking for property or thinking about starting the process, Cindy might be the perfect person for you, because she's patient. A lot of us are not in sales, but her past experiences are making her way more patient than a lot of us. But also, your different designations and your fields of study also help too, because everyone has very specific needs to what they're looking for in a transaction. Every deal is different, like you said. And so having all these things, I think make you a very, very good option or choice for people who need someone well-rounded to work with. So,
Thank
and then
you.
also having the experience of done it yourself is a big
Yes.
help as well. So, any final thoughts or anything you want to say to people before we end our video?
I just look forward to a great next 3.5 years here.
Outstanding. Well, I'm going to have in the comments, there'll be the link to our company website. And if you go to the agent roster or office roster, you'll be able to find Cindy's information. Cindy has her own website. She's on social media, so she's really easy to find if you need her. And look out for other videos. Cindy does a number of videos with us. And if you look on our YouTube channel, you'll see some other videos that star Cindy in them as well. And I would also say look out for future videos with her as well.
Absolutely.
Well, outstanding. Well, until the next video, thanks for watching the video and getting to know more about Cindy. If you have any questions, like I said, please go to our agent roster page and reach out to Cindy or I. We'd be really happy to help you. And, best everybody, and we'll see you on the next video.